Morning and welcome back to the second hour of LoveBabz, LoveTalk. I'm Babz Rose Ivy. I'm delighted because I got musicians in the house. Unmute yourselves, brothers. I've got musicians in the house, and not just any musicians, but one we know deeply and are connected to and watch grow up. And then AZA, is it AZA? AZA, you're new to us.
AZA.
AZA is new to us. Hello, Mr. Sands. How are you?
What's happening? Like,
lovely to see y'all.
Yeah, good to be here.
So y'all gonna be at the Well coming up. What is it? August 7th at the Well.
7th, yeah.
Summer at the Well at the Schwartzman Center, and you're gonna bring your own kind of music, jazz, little hip hop, maybe whatever it is. Talk a little bit about this music and this collaboration. How do y'all know each other?
Yeah, we call it neo fusion music. It's really drawing on the Afro diasporic lineage. And there's jazz, there's hip hop, there's gospel, R&B, and obviously I'm playing with incredible musicians who you all know. My brother Abdul-Rahim, Ryan Sands, and then Zwilake Duma Belapierre, also a fixture in the New Haven community. And I've been in New Haven now for over 5 years, almost 8 years now. And so yeah, we're gonna be bringing not just music that's fun that people can vibe to, but there's really such a healing capacity for music, and that's really where we start to hone in together as a trio. I think is like bringing our different energies and our different traditions and our shared traditions, and then with me being a physician and a neuroscientist, really bringing in the science of how music can heal and putting that medicine into the fun and into the music has really become a great joy for me.
Yes, I find this all very fascinating and interesting. Because we often hear that music and science go hand in hand, and so you all embody that a little bit.
Yeah, and I got to meet Brother Sands now probably over 5 years ago. We've been playing together, and I knew Zway since my days in Boston when we were both young in college, med school. So we've been playing together for a while, and it's really just started to again just bring all these different vocabularies and musical ideas together, and then like I said, bringing in the scientific piece, and both of them are actually really interested in that component and are academics in their own way, so we really vibe and gel over that.
I love it. So Abdul-Rahim, you just came back off tour, like you were somewhere, because I follow you on Instagram, so I know you were like all over the globe, and then I had Jesse Hameen on the other day talking about the upcoming jazz concert in Neighborhood Music School. And he shouted you out. So how are you? Check in with us a little bit.
Just like tapping in. Just want to first say, just like glory to God. That first and foremost, like to be here, be alive for like another day, and like to see like you two again, and just like just been all over like the world like this past couple weeks. And just like whether it's just like being in Istanbul, London, Bulgaria, Rotterdam, and then coming back home over here, like it feels good to be back on home soil, like for like a little bit.
Good, welcome home. So tell me about this music y'all are going to perform. Are you rehearsing it? Are you practicing it? Or is it? Tell me what the process is, because it sounds like it takes its roots from many different things. So if I'm coming to hear this, what will I be hearing?
Yeah, you'll be hearing a mix of, soul music, covers from, artists you love, like, Marvin Gaye, Donny Hathaway, Bob Marley, D'Angelo. You also be hearing some hip hop, covers from people like Lauryn Hill, Tribe Called Quest, even newer artists like you'll see some soca covers from people like Kes, covering Rima. And then there's a bunch of original music, that I've written that we played together a bunch. And usually our process is, we have a gig coming up. I'll send out the music. We kind of vibe, talk over the music. We'll have some rehearsals to just iron things out. But the live show is really like, it's really spontaneous. Sometimes we don't stick to the set list. We might move things around depending on the energy of the crowd, depending on our energy. And what they're so great at is really just listening and feeling that energy. And sometimes, Abdul might push us in a certain direction in a song that we didn't think we were going to go, or we might go into a vamp. And, Zway might bring in some things that push the music in a different way. So I think in some ways we really try to hold to some elements of the jazz tradition in terms of being able to improvise, being innovative, trying to bring that language in, but then we're making space for all these different elements. So you'll hear a mix of music. Some of it you won't know, some of it you will know. A big part of it though is audience participation, and that's really become a big part of what we're doing with Music for the Collective, is coming back to our roots and breaking down that barrier between performer and audience. Right, we're all collectively engaged in this music, and so audience members will have their time to sing. They'll have their time to play percussion instruments. It's really about bringing music into this collective healing space, and channeling some of the energy people are, they know and they're familiar with, but really also bringing some new things as well that people can learn.
I love this. So do you like the opportunity to be in spaces where you can experiment, play around, do old school stuff, new stuff? Like what is the best expression places that you like to do musically? What do you love to do?
Yeah, I mean, so I would say for me, I grew up in the church, so that was my first exposure really to music and the spirit behind music and the energy that music can bring to our people. And so I still love that venue because it's so intentional. There's such a ritual and there's such a spirit behind it. I love venues that are intimate, where I can really connect with the audience and they can really feel our spirit and really get immersed in the music. But we also played, some bigger shows. I was in LA recently. We opened up the year at the Kennedy Center. I was at South by Southwest. And so I think getting that time to bring music that people might not expect in a certain space, and then exposing it to them and welcoming them into that energy, is something that I really enjoy. And being able to do it with like the high caliber of musicians that I have, in my band, I think really just pushes things, to the next stratosphere.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So Abdul-Rahim, when you're do you like being able to sort of mix it all in, or are you, I used to go see Wynton, and he was very, very much a jazz purist in a particular way, and I think he's softened over the years a little bit. How do you come to this music? Do you come to it purely as a place of jazz, or do you come to it with all the other kinds of music out there and incorporate it in?
Like my first order like a business is like to play whatever that the music like is called for, and that's my first thing, regardless of the genre that I'm playing. It's like, okay, like this is what's needed. This is what's like required, like right now, and just like yes, of course, having like my jazz like training, I do bring elements of that, but I make sure just like, okay, like if I'm doing like a tribe tune, how can I bring in me into this space and while still being authentic? That's what I'm playing. So those kind of things, it's kind of what goes like through my mind.
I love it. So AZA, when you're talking about diaspora, I'm starting to notice lots of artists from the continent really getting a foothold in the American music scene in ways that didn't used to be, true. I mean, we all kind of know Fela Kuti and Hugh Masekela and Miriam Makeba, but beyond that, and Angelique Kidjo, folks like that. But that's so much time in between. But now we're starting to sort of see real sort of music crossing back and forth to the continent, to here, to there. What do you make of that?
I think it's kind of these cycles. You see these ebbs and flows of like how certain music starts to reach its resonance, in a population, and every music kind of has its time where it comes into the forefront and has a resonance. And as music evolves, as different influences start to merge together, you get these things like Afro beats that come out. Shout out to Angelique Kidjo, who I actually had an opportunity to sing with before. And she's just such a phenomenal artist, and I learned a lot from being on stage with her. But I think now Afro beats and that wave, like, people want to have fun. People want to feel a vibe, you know, they want to dance, they want to move, especially after COVID. Like, people want to be outside. So I think, you know, that music really helps push that energy, you know, that fun energy and people dancing. And we actually do some, you know, we do some Afrobeats rhythms and covers in what we're doing to really pay homage to the fact that, you know, that music right now is really pushing dancehall, you know, in the 2000s, 2010s was, you know, something that was really pushing the culture even in the US too. So I think it's just like every music kind of has its time where it reaches its optimal resonance with the people because of what they're going through, because of where things are. And I think right now people are at a place where there's so much darkness that people can see. You know, there's so much tension and stress across the world that people really want when they come to an event or a show or music. They want to be able to release, you know, they want to have fun. They want to be able to dance and move and kind of forget about what's happening in a certain way. Our music doesn't really necessarily cause you to forget because we're conscious, but we're saying we can consciously access joy even in times of pain or even in times of stress or even in times of darkness. We can consciously access light. We can consciously access fun, and we can use music as a portal and as a vehicle to collectively bring us into that space. And then when we're in that space, healing, you know, healing can happen, action can happen. There are lots of things that we can then move from. And so that's really what we're trying to do. And I think in some way, music like Afro beats is bringing people together in a way that's fun and in a way that allows them to connect. And I think there's so much movement that we can then, you know, take from there.
Now, is there some genre of music that you haven't attempted to incorporate into your style, into your, like, are you listening to K-pop? Are you listening to, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. I listen to K-pop because of my kids. So, you know, I get some exposure to stuff like that. I would say, like, even though I've listened to certain bands like, you know, like Nirvana growing up, or just certain, like, I haven't really gone into like metal, or, you know, rock and roll doesn't really make its way into a lot of stuff. Sometimes I'll cover like the Beatles or, you know, Bob Dylan. There's just certain songs that I think do resonate, and we can, when we do covers, we take kind of the raw material, the melody, the harmonies, but we put our own, you know, we put our own feel to it. So it doesn't always sound exactly like that cover, but it's like, how do we interpret this energy? How do we interpret these lyrics or this language and then bring it into like our collective space, which again is like me bringing my roots and what I bring musically and the jazz training that I've had. And then obviously with Abdul and Zway, you know, they can really push that language and bring it in.
Mm-hmm. So, do you ever hear a piece of music done by another artist and be like, man, I like to get my hands on that. Like, I'd really like to do something with that. Is that the artist's way?
All the time, all the time. Like, I'm hearing something, I'm just like, okay, I could totally like do a cover of that, or totally just add that to the set. Because like for me, good music is good music. Good music is good music, and it deserves to be played.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and just like I look at Ramsey Lewis. Ramsey Lewis is a great example. Like when he was coming up and like with his jazz trios and everything, they played everything. Nothing was off limits. See, Miles Davis, same thing. Nothing was off limits. They played all like the Broadway tunes. They played all the pop stuff, and just like whatever like, was hot, like that's what they played, and they put their spin on it, and it was phenomenal. And it's just like, and then like, today's world, today's generation is just like still staying true to that, because good music is good music, regardless of what it is. Because if it makes you feel something, it makes you move, makes you like reflect. It makes you reflect on the day. It makes you move differently as a person, as a human. It deserves to be played.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think a good example of that with us is even like there's a song "Everybody Wants to Rule the World" by Tears for Fears, and I love that song. And then I went to Brother Sands had a show for his album release, and he covered that, you know, with his trio. And I heard it, and I was like, oh man, because the take they brought to it, I was like, yo, we have to start doing that, you know, with the trio. So we started incorporating that into like our set list, because I just loved their interpretation of, you know, of it. And obviously it took slightly different directions with our, our trio compared to when he did it as his album release. But I think that was a great example of just like a song that I probably wouldn't have thought to cover, but then hearing him do it in that setting, I was like, oh yeah, that's hot. Like, let's do that.
Oh, I like that. I like that. So,
Mm.
is this a good time to be a musician? Like, I mean,
Mm.
there are moments when things are, I don't want to say in vogue, but are quite popular. And then there are moments when things are sort of like not. Does this feel like a strong musical moment?
Like, if I may answer this,
Yeah.
just like, is it a good time to be a musician? I don't see like a time like when it's not a good time to be a musician because it's like yeah, because like we're in a world that's so ever changing in a lot of newness, a lot of things going on, and just like music is the soundtrack to the everyday person, to the everyday life. And that they have an opportunity to wake up every day to be able like to play, to make music, and to give and break away from like the norm. It is nothing short like but amazing. Nothing but short like nothing short of like a blessing. And of course, like there's trials and there's different just like fears and different like hardships today as they were like before. And it's just like one of those things. It's one of those things like where just like okay, just like if one really wants to do this, really want to embark on this journey, then we will do our best to make it happen. That can be here and do what's necessary. So I don't ever see that it's a bad time. I was looking at it just like, okay, if people think it might be a bad time, then maybe being a musician like that might not be like in the cards right now. But like, but it's not a bad time to be a musician. No.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I'll add to that. I'll say it's a great time to be a musician because while there's always challenges, I think in doing music and like, having sustainability, building a fan base, building momentum, getting shows, there's so much that goes into that. But I think now, especially as, for instance, generative AI becomes more and more a thing, I think people see that as a potential negative for musicians because now AI can just create songs that sound great. But I
Mm-hmm.
think it's actually creating a demand for real live interaction. People want to see real humans in real time connecting and playing, and they want to be invited into that. And I've seen that really powerfully, this year as we really start to engage. Like I said, we started at the community at the Kennedy Center with a sold out show, and people really wanted to be invited into that sort of collective healing space and have music be the portal for that. I think especially now musicians have to really start thinking about the health and wellness sector because there's such a demand now from entrepreneurial standpoint, from a musician standpoint, from a technology standpoint, for seeing how music can be brought more into spaces of healing and in medicine. And a lot of people are looking for people who can actually play the instrument and command that energy and vibration and command that language of the music to bring that about. And so I think now is actually a really exciting time because there are now opportunities for musicians to play in settings that they probably didn't get to play in before, get money, to do things musically that there weren't opportunities to do before. And it's more about kind of, I think, in some way shifting the mindset and ask, how can I take this skill set and this language and think about ways that it can be used in society outside of entertainment. While entertainment, like I started off, is valuable. We want to have fun. We want to be able to kind of enjoy each other. But I think there's also a higher space of healing and like spiritual enlightenment and all these things that music can bring. And there are lots of opportunities for that are emerging, especially post COVID, especially as technology begins to generate all of these things that you can access digitally. People want to know that they can get this, in real life and see that in real time.
So you telling me, Dr. Allsop, you are writing prescriptions for people to go listen to music?
I'm saying that is happening actually, and there's lots of new models where, for instance, insurance will pay for people to access certain musical spaces because we can show that actually long term will save them money, on some of the health outcomes. So we're not at a place yet where this is standard of care or something that everyone is accessing, but it is something that is happening and it will continue to grow. And so I think now musicians that are coming up and musicians that are already established are looking to see how can we really integrate what we're doing into the health and wellness space because there's such opportunity there.
Hmm. God, that's fascinating stuff. And I would imagine that you stay in the forefront because you're a neuroscientist, you're a psychiatrist. So you have one foot in the science world and one foot in the music world. So I would imagine that you see the trends and the overlay of this kind of application to communities.
Absolutely. I see it on both sides, both on the health care and science side, where people are looking to, I mean, our lab has gotten money, to study live music for individuals with dementia, to look at, how we can solve chronic pain. We published a paper showing we can improve psychological state and improve heart activity in people that have anxiety and depression, with music mindfulness. And so on the science side, I'm seeing it that there's definitely an opportunity. There's money being put into investing in, developing these types of models. And I'm really grateful to be, part of the group that's leading that charge. And on the music side too, I see it where people are, they want an experience. They really want an experience, and they want to come out to something that, again, is not just going to be fun, but that can really benefit them in a certain way. When they come out of there, they feel lighter, they feel different. And again, I think for people of the African diaspora, places like church and different community spaces have always been that for us. The spaces we can go in to receive healing, and music has always been a part of it. Is now we're expanding it beyond sort of the church and beyond some of the more familiar community spaces, and saying how can we really broaden the scope and the way that we can bring this forward. So I see it on both sides: music entering into the medicine and science sphere, and on the music side, people trying to ask, like, how can we bring the medicine back into the music? How can we bring these different elements, back into the entertainment space?
Yeah.
So Abdul, when you work with somebody like this, does this even expand your take on how you do music and what music can do in the world?
Yes, yes, like very much so. Like from working with him, and also yeah, like watching and like learning about music and the brain and like how it affects like cognitive thinking, how it affects just like long term like health, like in general. It's just like, whoa, I never knew that all that like existed before. So definitely every show like that I do after that, I have a different perspective, I have a different mindset now. When it comes to playing, like just when it comes to playing music in general, very eye opening.
Mm. Oh, this is fascinating stuff. So, all right, who are y'all listening to? Who do you get chance to go see other artists? Like, are you at the Beyonce concerts? Are you like where are you at?
Oh man, like I just saw Ledisi and Leon Thomas actually like last
Wow.
week. So I saw Ledisi and Gregory Porter, and then a couple days before that, like a couple days before that, I saw Leon Thomas and Diana Ross, and we were all playing at the same festival together. So it was wild, and Georgia Smith like was playing, like so it was a fun time.
Oh, I like that. AZA,
Yeah.
AZA.
Yeah, I've been, I go through periods of time where I like really kind of isolate myself and try to dig into my own sound and not be too influenced by what's going on. And then I have periods where I'm really exploring and like taking in a lot of music. So like the past few months, I've been more kind of isolated and focusing on my own sound. But this year, I've had a chance to see, Kess from Trinidad. My family's from Trinidad. I grew up there, so I really look at like that Caribbean influence and that style of music, how it can drive stuff. Saw Marshall Montano for his 50th, at the Kennedy Center, which was a lot of fun. Robert Glasper, PJ Morton within the last few months. So yeah, I've been able to see a little bit of things going on.
Now, are you always listening to music? I've had musicians on, and particularly the classical musicians, and I've heard them say when I go home, there's no music on. Like I don't want any music on in the house when I'm at home. Do you have those moments, or like what's the discipline for y'all?
Yeah, I listen to music a lot. I don't even think my wife would allow such a thing of no music in the house. Like that's not possible. So yeah, I'm always listening to music in the car, at home. I think I have also come to value silence, and I think being able to sit in silence and stillness is super important. So I do make time for that, and there are times where I'm not, but I generally I'm taking in music in a lot of different spaces.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm.
like dig and like I do like a lot like my music playing when I'm on a drive, like playing like drive, yeah, like playing train. I do like a lot of my listening there. Like, when I'm home, I might throw something on. Just like last night, a friend of mine just came out with a new project named Alexander James, and just like yeah, so I just like went to go listen like to her record. But see, but outside of that, it's mostly just like podcasts and just being outside and just relaxing, and
And
or
and and speaking of relaxing, how do y'all wind down? I mean, I know the psychiatrist and the neuroscientist has really good ways to wind down, but how do y'all wind down? How do you take care of yourselves? How do you rest?
play some 2K and watch some Love Island. That's what I be doing. Just
Oh, guilty pleasures.
yeah, just a lot of guilty pleasures and just chilling, or just recently just started like going on like long like walks and jogs and runs, and just started doing that and just enjoying just feeling and just taking in everything around me.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, I've entered definitely into the nap ministry, so I take my naps for sure.
Welcome.
Um, yeah, yeah. I'm big into like meditation and yoga, so those are places where I kind of can rejuvenate and get more in touch with my inner self. Nature, going out in nature is big for me as well. Um, and accessing those types of vibes. And then I also, I'll play some FIFA. That's like my video game of choice. Um, Maybe watch some Divorced Sisters or some other Tyler Perry stuff.
Oh.
Those are my guilt. That's my guilt. Me and my wife, those are our guilty pleasures. But yeah, those are all kind of ways that I'll relax. Go out to
Mhm.
eat, winery, those types of
Yeah,
things.
Because I don't know if black men are asked enough about how they rest and how they relax.
mm,
I don't recall real conversations about. I know black women, we're good at connecting and getting in our circles and going on trips and relaxing and self-care. I don't know. People ask black men, what do they do? Like, how do you tune out the noise? How do you take care of your mental health? How do you take care of, getting peace and quiet? So that's why I was interested in that. Because y'all are young enough to sort of at least start into self-care and taking care in ways that maybe your fathers didn't do or your grandfathers didn't do.
mhm,
Yeah, and for
exactly.
me, I think it's something that I had to learn. I think it took me not resting and getting the effects of that, starting to have panic attacks, starting to just not function in the way that I wanted to function. That taught me the importance of rest. It taught me the importance of meditation and really finding that inner stillness and inner peace. And then you can do a lot, but if you're doing it from a place of stillness and rest, the impact that it has on your body, the impact that it has on your mind and emotions will be very different than if you don't have that peace and stillness and you're just moving, 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 trying to accomplish, trying to find your value in what you can do or what you can accomplish. And I think I definitely, have been guilty and caught in that trap before of trying to validate who I was with just how much things I can do,
Mhm.
and had to really, over the last 5 to 7 years, really take a step back and come back to like my own intrinsic value as a being and as a person and find that stillness and peace. And that has been really saving for me and my family.
I feel that.
Wow.
I see. I definitely feel that, and just like and on this side of things, just like being raised and being around a generation of men that didn't rest to rest, like they would rest like to work some more, and and then
Yeah.
and then having that, and then coming up in that is just like okay, just like I'm not resting to rest like this. I'm not resting to just like to rest and just relax. Like I have to rest to be out here and like and protect, like provide and do all these other things. And now like my worth and everything is tied in like to now how much that I can take on and how much work that I can now do and accomplish. And it's just like and there's no time like to rest. Like you don't get to rest like until way down. But then also like looking at it now, I'm just like look, just there's no problem with having like a couple days or just having like a week and just like just marinate and just taking everything, or even with me being a Muslim, it's just like taking time out and taking time out to do like salat 5 times a day or as many times a day like as one needs to, and just having those 8, 10, or sometimes depending on like who you are, 20 minutes, so making like salat and just having that peace and quiet and just to get recentered, and setting intentional time like aside. And so definitely Basil with that question, just like with us as black men, like how do we rest? Like that's a great question, and that's something that we should also like talk about. AZA, they should within our own like communities, just like it's just like, hey, black man, like how are you doing? Like how are you resting? Like are you taking care of yourself? Are you taking the time like to really feel and process instead of just walking through life and just letting life happen?
That's very real. That's very real. I'm so glad y'all got to join me this morning. This is a real treat. Summer's at the Well with AZA, Allsop Trio with the wonderful Abdul-Rahim Sands. Y'all will be there the 7th from 5 to 11. That's a good amount of time.
It's a good amount
That's some
of time.
good music right there. And if you haven't been to the Well in the Schwartzman Center, I bet y'all been down there, right? It's very swanky. It's very speakeasy kind of vibe. They got a little bar situation. So it's very cozy in there. Not tight, but cold. It's very it's got a very intimate vibe to it. So y'all will be there 8/7/25. For more information, y'all who are listening, go to the Schwartzman Center site. It's up there. You'll see them, and they got a whole list of summer concerts and productions that they got going on at the Well. So people, if you missed this, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know where you could find these brothers on their Instagram pages, and they'll tell you where they'll be playing collectively and individually. Is that right?
And it's free to the community.
And this is free.
Thanks to Schwartzman Center for sponsoring this for everybody.
And it's a great space. It is a beautiful space. It's a well-appointed space. If you haven't, thanks, Harry, for throwing it up there. Here's the Summer at the Well. So here's their concert that they're going to be doing. So come and hang out and, get a little bit of that vibe. It's a wonderful thing to have y'all in community. So thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you
for having us.
I'm gonna try my best to get there. I love a good live music set. So I might make my way over there. Get me a cocktail and sit down. So all right. Well, good to see you, brothers. Be well in the world. And I will see you soon.
All right. See y'all soon.
Thank you, Harry. We'll keep